You've just watched 4 wonderful films, from
Yes.
Swanage Holidays to mackerel fishing to obviously the net and rope
Yes, that's
making
right.
industry. What kind of memories do they evoke for you, all of those films that you've just been watching?
Well, all the old-fashioned memories that were, like, which is always very interesting and very pleasing to see.
So did you take holidays in Dorset when you were a youngster?
Sometimes, yes.
And where did you go?
Well, not very far. We couldn't, in the war years, we couldn't go no further than West Bay or perhaps Burton Freshwater, and that was about it.
And when you were watching the film of Swanage, did it evoke those memories of the costumes that were made of wool? So every time you came out the sea, you were exposing yourself.
Yes, that's right. So I don't remember anything like that in West Bay, not really. But I expect there were.
I'm sure there were. We might find out a little bit about
Yeah.
the experts later. Now, coming back to the rope and net making industry, I know that your dad invented a machine that took the manual side of things.
The manual operating.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the machine that your dad...
Yes, the hand operating braiding machine. Father converted a jumper loom to electric power, which is now set in the museum. That was the first prototype machine that Father did.
And how did it change the industry?
Well, it didn't really. It's the same old stuff, really. Same netting came off of the machine when it was powered. That's what it did when it was hand operated.
And I know that you worked on those machines, didn't you? Tell me a little bit about your time.
Yes, that actual machine there, in my spare time, I earned enough money in my spare time to buy my first motorbike. Now, just after the war, motorbikes were not very expensive, not really. About 30 or 40 pounds, you could buy a decent motorcycle, which I did,
And how long did it take you to save up that money to buy
several weeks or a couple of months, or whatever, yeah.
So that's pretty good going then, really.
Well,
I think today,
bad,
if the equivalent would probably be 3 or 4 years, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, yes.
Describe the impact, you think, from sort of flax and cotton, and the difference between then going to synthetic materials.
Right.
How did you kind of see the changes, and what changes do you think that had?
Well, like we've seen on the films, the hemp and the flax is very dusty, but once the cotton came in, that was much cleaner. And then the nylon was totally different again. Like Ron Pinkett said, you could go to work with your best suit on and you wouldn't harm, But with the other old-fashioned stuff, well, anything could happen.
And Ron also talked a lot about the conditions. How do you remember the conditions back in the
Well, like it's been said, yes. In the walks, in the winter, it was a dreadful place to work. But in the summer, then it was very hot. You had your extremes.
So when you say dreadful place to work in the winter, what was it like?
In the winter?
Yeah.
Miserable. Because they had all their clothing on to keep themselves warm. There's no heating in the line walks or anything like that. And then in the summer, it was totally different, boiling hot.
And I know that when we were talking before, that the working conditions, as you mentioned, they were difficult. How do you think people came together? Do you think that the camaraderie amongst the workers was important to get over those sorts of conditions? Yes,
they all worked very well together. A very good atmosphere, You didn't get anyone shouting and hollering at something because you haven't done anything right or something, But the comradeship was very good.
And I know that you worked in your dad's factory for over 10 years. I know you had a couple of years when you were in National Service.
Yeah.
What was it like working with your dad in the factory and working with other people and actually producing nets yourself?
Yes, there's only 3 or 4 of us, you see, in Folly Mill. And that was okay, we had 2 converted looms in Folly Mill, and also at one time we had a jumper loom in Folly Mill.
And coming back to the industry, how do you think it's shaped Bridport? I mean, you've been mayor 6 times, deputy 9 times.
Right.
How do you think the industry has shaped the town?
Well, it has, you know. A few years back, that's the only work there was in the town, apart from a few shops. Everyone was taught and learned how to braid a net and repair a net, shut, strim, or whatever you like to do with it. You know, everybody knew how to do that at that time.
And was it the fact that, I mean, Ron mentioned in the film that, you know, he worked in the industry for 50 years. Mm-hmm. Was that the norm?
Yes, that was the norm, yeah.
And would families kind of follow that, fathers and sons would follow?
The whole families were involved with it, you see, you know, right the way through.
And was that how did it impact your family? I know you had brothers, did they come in and...
Well, we sort of connected loosely with it, like, you know.
And thinking back to those times, Geoff, what kind of memories do you have now?
They were good times. Everyone helped one another. The allotments, for instance, if somebody had too many carrots and somebody had too many beetroot, well, then they'd do a swap, like, you know.
I hope they still do that now, though, if you had excess produce.
No.
And lastly, Geoff, I'd like to ask you, can you hand braid a net yourself?
No, I'm afraid not. Doom and gloom, yes, that's right. No, I can't do it, no.
Okay, well, thank you for spending this time with me.
It's a pleasure to come.
Geoff is actually going to be around at the end of the show, the second part, with our next guests. So he will still be here if you've got any questions you'd like to ask him, but that will be later. But thank you, Geoff.
Very good.
One more film.
Thank you very much.